Now, the 11th hour starts off right where the end of time, the Doctor Who special in which the Doctor regenerated, ends. Frankly, the end of time was one of those things that had a wonderful build up to it, and I was hoping for something there, and it just showed really why Russell T Davies understood that his tenure was over. It was stale, it was not really particularly thought out, and I will give Russell T Davies credit for two things. First of all, reviving Doctor Who in the first place, and the second thing, unlike some producers, understood that, well, it's time to go. There's only so much you can do with one show, and rather than just sit there and become more and more stale and more in a rut, Rick Berman, what can I say? Anyway, new Doctor. It starts off with Matt Smith essentially trying to control the TARDIS as it was damaged in the regeneration. Now, with Matt Smith, I was greatly concerned. I was really concerned when they announced him as the Doctor. He's 27. Now, we have had young doctors before. However, that young. To portray a gentleman who was supposed to be, well, for lack of a better term, a space god, who's 900 years old, that's a tough order. Can you carry on not only the childlike quality of the Doctor, not only the intelligence of the Doctor, but the gravitas. The fact that when it comes on out, the Doctor's, frankly, quite dangerous creature. And honestly, Matt Smith did a wonderful job on it. I was incredibly impressed with his performance, particularly as time went on in the 11th hour. Now, Matt Smith's Doctor, you don't get a whole lot here, but what you do get is a much more mercurial performance, a much more subtle performance than I ever saw out of David Tennant. And I like that Doctor. I really like that Doctor. You also are presented with a Doctor that also gets a little bit more of a sense of menace than David Tennant has in certain ways. He's much more mercurial of a figure. Now, in terms of plot with the 11th hour, you're not going to get a lot here. It does what it is supposed to do, which is introduce you to the new team, the new status quo, the new Doctor, and the new companion. The Doctor likes to travel with people. To use an in-universe quote, the Doctor travels with an entourage. Sometimes they're human, sometimes they're not. Now, most recently, they have been attractive women, which I really don't particularly mind. I really don't particularly mind this one. The episode starts out with Amelia Pond, this little Scottish girl, praying to all things Santa Claus about a crack in her wall that terrifies her. Now, this could have really just been bad. And instead, the director makes it spot on for two reasons: tone and dialogue. The dialogue of the little girl who portrays Amelia Pond is spot on. It would have been really manipulative and really trite. And instead, you got a performance of a little girl who is praying for help, and, well, the TARDIS, which is the Doctor's time machine, which for all intents and purposes to every person who sees it, might as well be magic. The Doctor's race, which is now dead, is so advanced that, you have Clark's first law written all over the Doctor and about 99.9% of what he does. The Doctor lands in her front yard, and pretty much Amelia Pond, this 8-year-old little girl, is, well, she's mystified by this strange figure who comes in, does all sorts of insane, bizarre things, and then finally finds out that, well, gee, the crack in her wall actually opens to an interstellar jail somewhere else in the universe because, well, there's a crack in time and space. And that's the crack in the wall. Stephen Moffat, in writing this, does a wonderful job of actually kind of creeping you out by not showing you the creature. He gives off this atmosphere of subtle dread. It would be kind of like if you walk down a dark alleyway, you always expect something to your left or in your peripheral vision. And it is a wonderful way of subtly bringing out that kind of primal fear that every human being has, that we have. There's something always chasing us or stalking us in the night. Now, due to the damage of the TARDIS, the Doctor, before he solves the problem, leaves. And from his perspective, he's only gone for 5 minutes. To Amelia Pond's perspective, he is gone for 12 years. Now, that's actually a really neat take on using time travel in Doctor Who. For the most part, you don't actually see that. You usually see the Doctor appear in a place, he has an adventure, and then he goes to the next place. Showing the kind of non-linear existence of the Doctor, particularly from the perspective of the Doctor, where he comes back and he doesn't expect to see Amelia Pond, now called Amy Pond, in a police uniform, essentially hitting him with a cricket bat because he's an intruder in a home that he only left, from his perspective, 5 minutes ago. And it also gives you a wonderful perspective on Amy Pond as a companion. Amy Pond is a character who's been disappointed by the Doctor. You see that little girl waiting for the Doctor to take her to show her the majesty of the universe, and to her perspective, he never shows up. So you get a more cynical character in the second part of the series, in the older Amy Pond, than you otherwise would have. I could only imagine it as something that you could see in each of our childhoods, where an adult would tell us, oh, well, we're going to go to the mall, or we're going to go to Disneyland, or Wally World, or ice cream, or whatever. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. And to our perspective, we're disappointed as children. Now, that's one way to look at it. Another way is, imagine if, to use another British series, imagine you had Harry Potter in the first book, in that little hovel wherever they go for his birthday. The giant comes in, tells him he's a wizard, tells him what's happened to his parents, that he's going to be a wonderful wizard himself, etc., 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 and, oh wait, I will be back 5 minutes. And then shows up when Harry Potter is, well, 20. Can you just listen to all the therapy bills? Anyway, that's where you kind of pick up the story for the 11th hour, the relationship between the Doctor and Amy Pond, and it goes on from there into The Beast Below. I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as we can, and to be honest, the 11th hour is one of those series beginners that essentially is there just to establish the characters and the arc, and that's about it. And it does that wonderfully. I highly recommend it. The end of it is actually probably one of the coolest parts, because it's a wonderful nod, to all of the previous Doctors, including him getting changed into a new outfit in the middle of a hospital. And it also kind of shows that new personality of the Doctor beginning to shine on through. The Beast Below is a wonderful roller coaster ride. It shows more of that mercurial Doctor. It shows more of the relationship between Amelia Pond and the Doctor, and it allows Amelia to do something other than just simply sit there and look with those frankly beautiful eyes in wonder at whatever the Doctor is doing. It also is a wonderful roller coaster ride in that it shows you how Moffat is going to direct future episodes. He's playing with the fans in many ways. If you looked at the trailers going into season 5, you got this idea that, well, Amy Pond was a policewoman. In fact, she's not. She's a kissogram. For those of you who don't know what that is, imagine a singing telegram and a stripper, except G-rated, or at least PG-13 rated, and you've got the idea.